Yeah, turn your mics on.
Test. Hello.
I'm on.
I'd like to call the Smithfield Zoning Board of Review to order. Tonight is April 3rd. Tonight with us on the board is Rick Leveley, John Hunt, our recording secretary, Sharon Gilmore. I'm Jim Buzzum. Linda Marcello is vice chairman. Member Frank Smith. Member Ed Savito. And our recorder is Stephanie. You want to read the emergency?
Sure. In case of an emergency, there are two main exits out of the chambers. The first is to the right side of the stage, up the stairs, through the doorway and down the stairway out the back side of the town hall. The second is out the back of the chambers to the exit doorway to the stairway out to the front of the town hall. The men's facilities are through the back of the chambers, past the stairway, around the corner on the right. The ladies' facilities are through the back door of the chamber, straight up the stairs, and on the left. Please do not use the elevator in times of emergencies.
Thank you, Sharon. Do we have any correspondence?
Yes, we received a letter from John East Archie Esquire, dated March 11, 2024, regarding 95 Douglas Avenue application. It reads as, "Dear Mr. Chairman, please withdraw my client's application without prejudice. Based on some issues with the existing structure, my client is considering other possible layouts for his proposal. If you have any questions, please feel free to call me at any time. Very truly yours, John East Archie."
Okay, thank you. Okay, thank you. All right. Board members that were here for the January 3rd meeting would like to approve the meeting minutes from January 3rd. If you had a chance to review them, I'd entertain a motion to approve.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve the meeting minutes as submitted.
Second. Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion?
No.
Modifications? No? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Meeting minutes are approved. All right, with that, we'll have here our first case, first application.
Okay, 24-003, Compass Construction as applicant and Wynn and Gerald Lawrence as owners of the property located at 282 Waterman Ave, listed as Plat 26, Lot 6, seek a variance to deviate from section 6.2.1, accessory uses, to construct an addition in an R20 district.
Okay. And you are representing the Lawrences?
I am. I'm the owner and.
Please state your name and address for the record.
What's that?
Please state your name and address for the record.
My name is Gregory Young. My address is, you want my home address? Oh, 130 Emerald Way, North, 130 Emerald Way, North Situate.
Okay? And Greg, you're going to be the contractor?
Yes.
Okay.
They couldn't be here today. They had a death in the family, so
So the owners aren't here?
the Lawrence is on here now.
Lawrence aren't here.
Yeah, their nephew died, so.
Okay.
All right.
All right. Can you tell us what you'd like to do and what variances you need?
So they would like to put a small addition, I think it's roughly 400 square feet, for a bathroom, laundry room, and a closet on the main floor. They do not have any bathrooms on their main floor. They're getting older. They don't want to sell the house. So they're looking to potentially turn the dining room into a master bedroom in the future, so they don't have to go upstairs to go to the bathroom, things like that. The laundry room's downstairs, so they just want a main floor. And that's pretty much it. The variance I need is the garage is not within the 10-foot clearance from the new addition. It's a separate garage. I need roughly 6 feet. I think the distance that I measured was 5'2". So I put 6 feet on there just to have a little wiggle room.
Yep, that's a good idea. Okay. That's a very small lot.
It's very small, yeah.
Lot going on that lot. Okay.
Yeah.
So it's just the 1 6-foot variance because of the distance between
The new proposed
and
addition.
the garage.
That's it.
Okay. Board members, any,
The only question I had was, with the garage being close to the house, the reason why we're 10 feet apart is trying to keep any fire that's going to happen in the garage from mitigating to the house.
Yep.
Is there anything going to be done to the garage, any like smoke detectors, fire, anything that's going to be added to that might help out? Because now that, I grew up down the street from the Lawrences,
I did too.
and knowing that, where Jerry is now, if they're moving down to the first floor, that means they're having issues in movement, and it would be hard for him to get out of the house at that point. So I'm just a little concerned that making sure that we have something that, even something that would tie back to the house or something, so we can get an alarm.
There wasn't anything in there, but I'm certainly not opposed to making that happen. The garage is literally, it's more like a shed. It's
No, I
storage.
know.
They can't even park in there. I don't even think you can fit a car in there.
Well, I just know Jerry smokes a cigar all the time.
That he does. I'm not opposed to that. If that's what I need to do to make it work for them, then yes, I mean, I can,
The other question I asked is, the addition is bumped like a foot from the right-hand side, looking at it from the street. Why couldn't that be pulled to the right, just to give you something?
I was more for trying to avoid to get a perfect match on siding, so we have that kind of distance. Instead of trying to go flat to the house,
Yeah.
we wanted to have like a corner there to bring the siding in, the corner board. I mean, it's the way the architect designed it.
Okay.
so, Mr. Young,
Yes.
the technical review committee for the town made some comments. Can we be assured that you will address these with the building department? They're very specific relative to.
Of course.
Features of the design.
Yes.
It might require some modifications. For
Yep.
instance, they were talking about, vertical barriers between the garage and the mudroom entrance. If it's going to be stairs there, to see how you
Well,
might.
the mudroom is existing, so it's really just a porch. We're going off the back of the mudroom. So we're going off the back of the house. It's,
Right, no,
all that, there's stairs there, it's all existing stuff. There's no basement, like I saw that on there, like it's
Right.
only a crawl space.
Well, if you will, just get a copy of the technical review
This right there?
report. Yes. And if you see the top of the second page, there's some
I think
comments.
one of the comments was also about the way the roof overhangs. Are they too, because when the roof's overhanging
Because
the
it's a
house and
hip
the
roof.
garage, they're gonna be closer than even the 4 feet go, so.
Yeah, and we can modify that accordingly, definitely, with gutter, you know, you're gonna have gutters there and all that stuff anyway,
Yeah.
so.
Is there something about the chimney too? on there?
I don't, I'm looking at that.
I didn't
I don't understand the chimney comment.
Chimney's in the right front of the house.
Yeah, it's yeah, so there's two, there's a fireplace chimney, and then they have one for their furnace that's gonna be where the addition is, but that's existing. I mean, that has
Oh,
to
in the
stay.
back of it, I see it.
Well, if you would, just do me a favor, make sure you know, that your testimony is that you'll work with the building department
Oh.
to address their concerns.
Absolutely.
Okay. All right, so then, so really, we're just voting on, you know, we'll just be voting on the 6-foot distance
variance,
variance,
yeah.
yeah. Okay. Any further questions?
No, I checked,
Board
I
members?
checked the dimensions and we're okay in the 25%, so.
All right, good man, Rick, thank you. All right.
Good.
If there's no further questions from the board, I'd like to open up the meeting to the public. Would anyone like to speak in favor of this application? Would anyone like to speak in opposition to this application? All right, not hearing any. Close the public hearing, and I entertain a motion to take us under advisement.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion, we take this under advisement.
Second that.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay. All right.
Just a comment that,
Oh, did I go too quick?
no, I didn't know if everybody knows that we take items under advisement, and then we discuss them later.
Mr. Lenny's making a point. To those of you that aren't familiar with the operations of the zoning board, we basically hear all the cases, and then after we've heard all the testimony of the various cases, we then go into discussions, and we vote on the application at the end of the meeting. You don't have to stay. You can get the results tomorrow from town hall, but we don't vote until the end of the meeting. Thank you, Rick.
You're welcome.
Okay. The next case,
24-004, ACU Realty LLC as applicant and owner of property located at 370 George Washington Highway, listed as plat 48 lot 003-3, seeks a variance to deviate from section 5.4 point table 1 dimensional regulations to construct an addition in a PC-EGO district.
okay. Good evening, Mr. King.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. For the record, my name is Timothy Kane. I'm an attorney licensed to practice law in the state of Rhode Island.
Tim, slow up a little bit. It is, that microphone makes it hard to understand for some reason. And I can see Stephanie struggling a little bit.
Okay, Stephanie, I'm going to slow down. I am an attorney licensed to practice law in the state of Rhode Island. I have an office at 627 Putnam Pike in Greenville. And I am before you tonight on behalf of ACU Realty seeking dimensional relief in order to construct a two-story, 5,000 square foot addition to the existing child care center. The applicable rear setback is 50 feet. The proposed addition is located 18.6 feet from the rear property line. So when we round off, it thereby requires a dimensional variance of 32 feet. I do have a rendering for you. I know the board likes to see them. I sometimes wish I could get them in with the application, but we engage architects and surveyors, and sometimes they don't produce right away. So, sign copies. You could pass those around and mark those as petitioners one, I would assume. And it just gives you a south view and then a southwest view of the proposed addition on page 2, and then an elevation at the end to give you a flavor of how it will match with the existing building.
It is 3 pages.
1A through C. Thank you. And I'd like to call up the principal of ACU Realty and have him testify briefly before you. So,
Great.
Jay?
Thank you. I'm sorry, Stephanie? Oh, yeah, no.
Hi, good evening.
Please raise your right hand. You swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, I do.
And state your name and address for the record.
Sure. First name is Jason, last name is Colgan, Colgan, 370 George Washington Highway.
I forgot to do that for you, George. Hold on. Okay?
And Mr. Colgan, are you a principal of ACU Realty LLC?
Yes, correct.
You're the owner, are you not?
Yes,
Okay, and the facility presently located at 370 George Washington. Is that licensed by the state of Rhode Island as a child care center?
yes, it is.
And how long have you been at this location?
We started in 2001, so about 23 years. We bought this land in 2013, constructed new in 2014, so we've been operating for 10 years in Smithfield.
And where were you prior to Smithfield?
Cranston and Lincoln.
And what are your hours of operation at Child's University?
Sure, it's 7:30 a.m. to 5 p.m. Monday through Friday.
And how many employees do you have?
It is 27.
Okay, and where do you draw children from? What area?
Primarily Smithfield, surrounding community, Lincoln, Cumberland, North Attleboro, Johnston.
Thank you. And just explain to the board the structured, I guess, services that you offer to
Sure.
the spectrum.
Sure, it's an early childhood program licensed by DHS, follows national and AUIC standards and Rhode Island early learning standards.
And you have physical activity,
Sure, indoor play area, outdoor play area.
early childhood programs,
Correct,
and you have instruction also.
correct, yes.
And you obviously see the need to expand the facility. Is that
Yes, overwhelmingly, yes.
And how many children would this addition allow you to take on?
So it's approximately 48 to 50 children. The final capacity is determined by the licensing agency, DHS, at the end.
So Mr. Kennedy, 48 to 50 are currently there?
That would be the proposed addition, would accommodate 48 to 50
48 to 50 more?
additional children,
Additional.
correct? That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
I'm sorry.
And currently, there's how many?
The exact license is 116.
Okay.
And
I have a copy of that license. I don't know if you want that at all, the state license now.
What's the age group?
It's infants, toddlers, preschool, pre-K, and a kindergarten program.
And do you expect to hire more employees?
We anticipate 8 additional staff.
And how many employees would be there? And I think you just testified you're at 28.
It's correct.
Another 8, it would be 36. How many would you expect to be there at any one time?
Generally 22 to 25. Right now, it's 27 total employees. We're anticipating an addition of 8. It fluctuates from time
They
to
don't
time.
all work the same.
Correct. So the hours being 7:30 to 5, we have it scheduled throughout the day where we do have some part-time.
But there are times when all 35 would be there. They overlap, right?
They do have maximum maybe 30, 32, somewhere around there, I think could be the max at maybe the middle of the day.
Have you ever had any issues with parking?
Right now, we do not, no. I think the civil engineer said it's
You do need the parking requirement.
correct, yeah, I believe when he did the calculation, we have sufficient
Around the
parking.
board, I just
Oh, correct.
want to impress upon the board that the nature of your business, what are your busy times as far as parents?
Drop off in the morning would be the busiest time.
Okay, and again, you haven't had any issues with parking?
No, we have not.
And you don't anticipate any issues with your addition?
No, we don't.
Well, no, just go a little bit slower, if you don't mind me interrupting your presentation. So you've got 116 children now. You're increasing by about almost 50%. But you're not going to change the parking any, or the traffic routing or anything, because I happen to have experience dropping off grandchildren there in the morning.
Oh, sure.
And I can't imagine a 50% increase in kids. Now, you're right,
One thing we could alter, we could change the hours. So we could, if we do run into an issue with parking in the future, particularly in that morning section, we could scale it back to a 6:30 opening and just, I think that would mitigate some of the congestion in the morning. But right now, for the purposes of what we're doing here, we just looked at the zoning code requirements and being sufficient with the parking we have now. But it's certainly in the back of our mind. I understand the concern.
Well, one of the things the zoning board, we continue to face is when a property is being more densified, an expansion, and there's going to be more traffic, it's an area of concern. And especially with, those little guys in the morning, and they all jump out of the car and they all want to run, and it could, and a 50% increase is kind of significant. So could you give any consideration to increasing the parking maybe on the?
If you look on the side where the dumpster currently, you see
Yes.
that drive, there's a good section of space over there where it could accommodate 15 or so spots if we had to.
Right.
If we had to add them.
I would encourage that.
Sure.
And if we make that a condition of approval, do you have a problem with that?
I don't, I just, truthfully, we're not even at that stage, just to see if this is something that's viable. But yeah, I wouldn't be opposed to that at all, sure. I want it to work, obviously, as well as anyone, so.
Okay, great.
Sure.
Thank you for.
Of course, yeah, absolutely.
Go ahead, Mr. Kane.
And does your building and will the addition have a fire suppression system?
The current building does have a fire suppression system, and the new space will as well, yes.
Excellent, good.
I don't have any further questions. Obviously, it's a first-class facility. It is in very high demand, as you know, Mr. Chairman. It's an asset to the town of Smithfield, and in addition, obviously brings things that we want, jobs, tax base, a place, a TC place for
The technical report asked about square footage, and I think the plans show that the existing building is 9,000 square feet,
It's 8,900, and we're proposing 5,000.
5,000 additional.
Correct.
And that 5,000 is for the 2 floors.
It is, correct.
It's a-
2,500
so
square
the
foot footprint.
Footprint of 2,500. Okay.
Exactly.
All right. You had sprinklers, that was addressed. Oh, yeah, Mr. Kane, what do we know about the sewer easement in the back?
Sewer easement, so-
It was commented on the drawings or something about being abandoned.
So we researched the sewer easement, and that easement basically serves this property. And he's already connected. It doesn't serve any other property. It's not reserved for anybody else. There is a building down to the right. I guess, I don't know what direction that would be. And there's a couple hundred feet of wetlands between that, and they have a septic system. So the easement was kind of drawn on the plan like that, on the line 35 feet, and it only serves this property in the connection. There's no issue with it.
You're already connected to the sewer and you don't need it. We don't think there's a reason for another property owner to need that easement.
There is no reservation of the easement for anyone else. It's not granted to anybody else. It is to serve this property. But for some reason, they just drew a line.
Okay, good, thank you. Board members, any
A
other?
couple of questions.
Please.
Stormwater basin, how far away from the property line is that gonna be with this new addition?
I can tell you they need to, it's gonna be close to the scale, and they're redesigning our deeds.
And so my other question with the stormwater basin, I noticed there's one on each side of the building. I know there's a pipe in each one of those stormwater basins so that water can be ejected out to the back. Isn't there a swamp back there? Are we supposed to be pushing water from stormwater basin into a swamp area?
I guess my response to that would be whatever they do, they need a permit from DEM, and it's definitely have to go to DEM to re-engineer the existing stormwater infrastructure.
And then just the land's gonna pitch all the way down into that stormwater basin too, I mean. You're on the low top and you got some high ground over there right on the side of that. That would be my concern.
It's tight, there's no doubt it's tight over there, they have their,
The engineers have their work cut out for them, that they can.
I think there's ledge there too, right? Some ledge there.
Yes, absolutely, yes.
So it's going to be, I think, a challenge to get that stormwater basin as designed in place. And if we can't do that, then what happens?
Then we don't have an addition, we're back to the drawing board.
Yeah. That section was blasted originally. That's part of the 35-foot easement. They blasted that section of ledge, and, because I think the intention was that we would connect the sewer along that way. So when we purchased the land, that area was all prepared.
So those are my concerns. You're going to get all the run-ups coming your way, and then it's going off the back. Is it allowed to go off the back into where that swamp area is?
I would know, only if DEM allows it, this definitely has to go before DEM.
Well, the current retention, you have a current retention pond there,
Two, yes.
and I've never seen it full. I mean, once in a while, there's a little, even with all the rain we've
We
had.
took a picture of the last big storm, not that it has any validity, but just for that purpose, because I wanted to show our engineer, because he was concerned, relocating it, how it would work. And I don't think we've ever accumulated, half an inch, even with all the saturation throughout this winter. So, I mean, I know it has to meet standards, and the engineer will work on that and make it meet code, but just from a practical standpoint, I've never had a concern myself for it.
But DEM is going to approve the.
We have to go through it,
modifications.
yes, yeah. In the civil engineer's proposal, we have entire application with DEM. We have to go through the permitting with them.
Okay.
Is that fenced in right now?
No, it is not, no.
Okay. Are there any modes of egress out of the addition that would be a little too close to that basin? Because what I'd be concerned with is there's a really tight space there now, and if need
Right.
be, if there's some kind of, if there's some kind of emergency and kids are running around that area, obviously, there's not a lot of water accumulation right now, but that could change over
Sure,
time.
of course.
A child falling in.
I'd be happy putting up a fence. It probably wouldn't be a bad idea anyway, just have like a chain link or something around the typical ones you see around.
Yeah, just because there's not a lot of space there now. If a kid needs to go around for any purpose of emergency, they're really
I
close to
agree,
that
yes,
basin now.
yeah.
So I think it's a good recommendation, a fence, in case the kids,
Is there
happen to
also,
see a few of them roll, and they enjoy that. When it's dry enough, they actually run in and.
Right, right.
is there any plan to expand the outdoor area for play?
We don't have to. There's no plan in place right now. I wanted to see how this went, what the final design would look like once we get through the architect's portion of the project.
So how many kids are usually outside at one time?
It varies. They have schedules where by the state, again, they have to break it into different rotating groups. So there could be 20 children, 30 children out at the same time.
And that would include the additional 48?
That might add another 15 at any given time. So there's sections, it's sectioned into like 4 or 5 large squares. So they either in their own individualized set, you can't mix ages, for example. So, yeah, they monitor, it works really well how they rotate.
So could it accommodate those additional 15?
Right now, it could, yes. We talked about maybe adding on in the back if we have room for it. It would be a nice thing to do, and I can't see a reason why we wouldn't want to do that, just because we're going to be back there with heavy equipment anyway. We're just at this stage, haven't given that much thought at this point.
Okay. Okay. John, good.
Those are my concerns.
Those are good ones. Okay. So obviously, any approvals would be subject to DEM accepting the modifications, et cetera. Okay.
So there's going to be probably an egress door in the back of that building or on the side of that building?
Right now, we're thinking of it leading into, I don't know if we show it on the plans, but we've got one leading into the playground area. If you can see the way the proposed addition kind of
It
extends
jets.
back beyond the perimeter a little bit, that's where we're proposing an egress. But we have to also go in front of, in addition to the state licensing agency, the state fire, and they run through that with us as well. So they'll have to review all this and approve it. That's typically what they get into, the egress and dimensions for requirements with that.
When you have a fire drill, where do they go?
Out into the playground area. And we have an agreement with a neighbor that if it's something so severe that they can take shelter at a neighboring building as well, Special Olympics.
But in the playground area, that fence line has a gate on it or something, so they can get out?
It does, yes, yes.
But then the land goes down pretty steep over there too, right? There another place for them to evacuate?
On the dumpster side, it's level. We used to,
Dumpsters, yeah, but I'm saying in the very back, is that where they're coming out where the dumpster is?
on the
Out
dumpster
back?
side. The existing dumpster side, on the existing building. Where the utilities are on the street side?
No, the opposite of the opposite of the
Opposite of the-
front entrance. I think Mr. Hunt's discussing whether the back of the playground fence would be, if you exit out that way, is a drop off, but it's not that significant, John. I think it's like 6, 7 feet, I would say.
Well, I would
Yeah, I've
think-
never known.
I would think with the height of your addition, that you're gonna probably not be able to use one of those play areas because they'd have to evacuate further from that area, which you'll probably find out.
Okay.
Okay.
All
right.
As long as you're gonna take care of all that, you know, have those kids are safe, that's the most.
Of course.
Your architect and engineers will be in contact with the building officials, and they'll be very strict about
Right.
egress and,
Correct, yes.
okay.
DEM, you have to go through a state fire marshal.
Yes. DHS, the state licensing agency, as well. Yeah, it's a lot of
Lots of
steps.
oversight.
It's a lot of steps. It's just-
You won't be building this anytime too soon.
We'll probably be before you ask for a continuance.
Okay. If there's no more questions from the board, I'd like to open up the public hearing.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Would anyone like to speak in favor of this application? Would anyone like to speak in opposition to this application? Not hearing any, I entertain a motion to take this under advisement.
Make a motion that we take this under advisement?
I'll second that.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any further discussions? Not hearing any? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay. Next case.
24-005, La Madonna di Supresi Realty Trust as applicant and RNL Enterprise LLC as owner of property located at 329 Waterman Ave, listed as Plat 25, Lot 41, seek variances to deviate from Section 5.3.4.b buffers and 5.4. Table 1 dimensional regulations to operate a private social club with indoor bocce courts in a commercial district.
Okay.
Yep, 2 seconds, Anthony. Good evening again, for the record. My name's Timothy Kane. I'm an attorney licensed to practice law in the state of Rhode Island. I have an office at 627 Putnam Pike in Greenville. And I'm pleased to be before you tonight representing the La Madonna di Supresi Realty Trust. I think you know the subject property. It's a zone commercial. It's a 10,000 square foot lot. My clients are proposing to acquire it, subject to obtaining approvals from the town of Smithfield, demolish a portion of the existing building. We gave you some site plans. We gave you existing condition site plan, and we gave you a proposed condition site plan. And just for the record, I'm holding up the existing condition site plan, and I've highlighted the area that's going to be demolished.
Okay.
And so I have some housekeeping matters.
Yes, you do.
I do, and as far as the process, I have to commend the Building and Zoning Department. We filed, we didn't have a fully surveyed plan at the time. We were working off an unsurveyed plot plan when we filed, but they did let us file so we could get in queue with you folks and meet the filing deadline. And then when we got our site plan, we were a few feet off on the dimensions that we put on the application. So I did file an amended application, and the variances originally requested are off by a couple feet in several instances, and you have that amended application. But the one that stays the same is the setback, no structure shall be built within 100 feet of a residential zone. And on my revised application, for some reason, I'm going to blame it on my staff, but the accountability lies with me. It says 84 feet. That one remains at 90 feet.
90?
Correct, yeah, yep, that one,
Okay, so zoning board members, this was the amendment that was sent out
Yeah,
to
that's
us.
right.
Okay, last week, and all the variances are listed, but we're going to change the 84 to 90.
please.
And why don't you just read us the other ones, because
Sure, absolutely.
all the board members
Yeah.
might not have printed the electronic
Absolutely.
copy.
So I'll go through those with you. Okay, so the first one stays the same, it's 90 feet. I'll just point out that the building as it exists is 21 feet from a residential zone, so it's, it would be another 10 feet from a residential zone, as I already argued that, right? The building as it exists is already 21 feet. The rear setback is 50 feet, and rather than seek a 36-foot variance, we are now seeking a 33-foot variance. The front yard setback is 60 feet, and the applicant is now seeking, just make sure I get this right, a 44-foot variance. The side setback is 40 feet, and the applicant is seeking a 30-foot variance from the side setback, and the maximum lot coverage is 30%, and the structure has proposed will cover 46% of the lot, so we're seeking a 16% variance on that. So that explains the changes once we got our surveyed site plan and we tweaked our application. And the other thing that arose, and kind of going back with the zoning office, and there's a lot of that before it gets to you, I got to tell you, probably about 25 emails and a lot of give and take, is unfortunately, the zoning ordinance, the land use table doesn't address a social club, even though we have those in Smithfield. We have the Elks Club, we have the PAC Club, I think there's a couple others. So we try and make it fit into something, with all due respect, right? And that work within the parameters of your zoning ordinance. And so I'm amending it, even though it's going to have a social club aspect to it, there's no doubt about it. The serving of food and alcohol continues, and it does have a restaurant aspect to it, as you'll hear from the testimony. And last night, the town council transferred the liquor license. Obviously, it's, we got to get through you also, but transferred the liquor license from the present owner to my clients. Because they operate, they have a light, you'll hear the testimony, they have a kitchen, expected by DOH, they serve food on a regular basis, and they serve liquor on a regular basis. So similar to the Elks Club, which serves alcohol and food, it does have a restaurant use to it. And so we're amending the application to work within the confines of your ordinance, and we are calling it a restaurant with alcohol, and with indoor bocce courts has an accessory use. The analogy I would make is we have golf clubs, some are private, right, and some are public, but it's still a golf course or golf club type of thing. So without further ado, I guess I want to make a motion to amend the application in accordance with what I've just presented to the board. Or what do you make a motion?
Do we need them?
Yes.
We do.
Need a motion to accept the amended application?
Okay. Board members, would somebody be?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion we accept the amendment as presented to us.
Second.
Any further questions or discussion?
And
We wouldn't want to make this a regular feature, Mr.
No, and I apologize, it was
The board is a little bit perturbed that this came in late and we're trying to adjust.
And I'll take responsibility for that, and I thank you for your indulgence. A lot of feedback from the Building and Zoning Department, and they were very gracious.
I'm glad they got it straightened out before it got here, so that's
Thank you.
That's good.
And just to keep I do have a rendering also.
Hang on a second, we're in the middle of, a motion. So we made, the motion's been made.
Vote on it,
seconded.
yes.
All right, and there's no further discussion? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay.
Now,
Okay, Mr. Kane, now you can proceed.
Mr. King, just a clarification. So the 33-foot, the 44-foot, and the 40-foot, the side is 40 feet, and so you're seeking a 30-foot. Those are existing conditions, right?
No, well,
Other than
no.
the back, other than extending out the back,
Correct. Other than extending out the side, there are some existing conditions there, absolutely.
the front's the same? so
Correct.
All that's staying.
Yes, exactly. And just as you'll hear from the testimony, even though we're going to have a eating and drinking establishment with bocce, it's going to be much less intense than what goes on there right now. I just want to kind of put that thought in your mind. You'll hear that from the testimony. I do have a rendering or renderings, and they are 4 pages each, shows you different views.
I have a question. Is there an apartment on the front right side?
And that's the portion of the building that's being destructed.
On the front right side?
Correct.
Yeah, it was the residents, and they're gonna
Yeah,
demolish
that's
it.
what I was like. I don't know.
So if you could mark this as petition is 1, A through D, I believe it's 4 pages.
Did you keep the original?
So we would have
This is 1 through D.
So I'd like to call Anthony Gianfrancisco.
Let me just, I'll give this to you. Okay. Yes, I'm sorry, go ahead.
The amended variances, those are based off, I didn't hear what happened, those are based off the existing building or the?
They're based off, the variances are based off the addition. I think what Mr. Levery was saying is, we're not conforming to start.
Yeah, it wasn't conforming originally, so.
Okay. Would you raise your right hand? Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Please state your name and address for the stenographer, please.
Anthony Gianfrancesco. I presently reside at 70 Superior View Boulevard in North Providence, Rhode Island.
Is it okay if I call you Anthony?
Sure.
Because I don't know, I probably would mess up your last name, and I'm sorry about that. Okay, Anthony.
So Anthony, are you a trustee of the La Madonna di Saprisi Realty Trust?
I'm not a trustee, no.
And is there a trustee present tonight?
There is, my cousin Dave Gianfrancesco.
Okay, and are you authorized to speak on behalf of the trust?
I am. I'm a licensed attorney in the state of Rhode Island. I practice with an office in Providence, Rhode Island, and I act as attorney for the organization.
And has the trust entered into a binding purchase and sales agreement to purchase the subject property, subject to obtaining approvals from the town of Smithfield?
It has.
And as I explained to the board, the trust is proposing to remove a portion of the building which is shown on the existing conditions plan submitted to the board. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
And you're proposing to construct an addition to house 2 indoor bocce courts. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And I'm going to run you through a few questions, and I'm going to ask you to describe to the board how the facility would operate. So what would your hours of operation be, generally?
3 p.m. to midnight, roughly.
And you understand that the board has the jurisdiction to put conditions on your application and restrict you to those hours?
Yes.
And what would be the number of people visiting the establishment? Tell me about bocce leagues and what you guys do. Right?
So in Rhode Island is Rhode Island Bocce League, which has about 18 teams in 2 divisions. And teams are located throughout the state. There are probably 4 or 5 home courts. We currently have one on Douglas Avenue in Providence. Typically, during league play, we have 4 teams which play 2 games each. That's what, hence 2 courts. The teams play 3 games a night. The games last less than an hour, so you're done within 3 hours. Each team has about 5 members, so you'll have 20 players. In addition to the players, you might get 5 to 10 spectators, if that. And that's essentially what we expect on a given night.
And do some of those players come together? Do you have father and son? Do you have?
A lot of family. My son plays. David's who I reference here, his son is involved, Ralph's son is involved. We're trying to get the younger members in, but to answer the question, there's usually a home team and a visiting team, and the visiting teams would usually travel together.
Okay. And so how many cars would you expect on a busy night, I guess?
Less than 15.
Okay. And you went before the town council last night and they transferred the liquor license, is that correct?
Yes.
So you're going to continue to serve alcohol, and you'll also have you'll have a kitchen inspected and licensed by Department of Health, and you'll serve food on a regular basis?
Yes, one of the reasons we're interested in this facility is because they have a nice kitchen. I believe it was recently redone.
Okay.
And a lot of the players come there after work, before the game. They look to have something to eat, maybe have a drink, go play a game. And then after the game, most people leave immediately after the game is over, but 5 to 10, they hang around and have a beer or 2.
Espresso, anything, you have anything?
Definitely espresso.
Okay. And do you pay retail tax on the sale of food and beverages?
Yes.
All right, and do you plan to have rock bands and loud music like they do down there now?
Absolutely not.
Okay. What's the average age of the folks who, I think you already answered it, but patronize the establishment?
No, actually, no, you didn't ask, but the age, I'm considered one of the younger people.
Okay.
A lot of the players are well into their 80s, even 90s. We are trying to get the next generation in. That's why I refer to my son and David's son and Ralph's son. I would say the average age is probably 70.
And if we want to call them, what are your most active nights?
League play is Wednesday and Thursday. Friday night, people will show up and they'll have some in-house games. And we're trying to develop some in-house leagues, maybe on a Monday night, and a women's league on a Tuesday night. If that happens, we don't have that yet. If we move here, that'd be something we'd like to do.
And I believe the existing capacity of that establishment is 90, is that correct?
80, I think.
It's 80, I stand corrected. And do you anticipate ever having anything close to 80
Nowhere near
people?
that, no.
Okay. Where are you presently located?
800 Douglas Avenue in Providence.
And unfortunately, you don't have indoor courts there, do you?
No, in fact, there are very few indoor courts in Rhode Island.
And have you ever had a problem down there with noise, and you have to call the police?
Never had a single complaint. And since 1993, we never had.
I don't have any further questions, but I'm sure.
Your club on Douglas Avenue, you don't have courts.
No, we do. They're outdoor.
Oh, they're outdoor courts, okay. So you only get to play, well, obviously not winter.
Right, correct. Or in inclement weather if it's raining. So this will enhance the ability to play continuously.
How many members in your club?
About 40. They don't all play bocce.
I was gonna ask, and then how many of them use it just as a social, a place to go have a drink or some food or whatever?
Yeah.
So
Yes.
there's some of that traffic in
Oh, yeah.
addition to the, yeah.
Yeah, we'll have like monthly dinners for the whole family. Everybody will come down, maybe at those nights you might get 40 people if you have them once a month.
Will the restaurant be limited to the members only, or will it ever be open to
Members
the
and
general
guests.
public? So it's
Members,
not
guests.
open?
You can come, Linda, you're more than welcome.
Well, yeah, I mean, Yeah,
That's what I'm wondering.
we can't, I don't think we can deny access,
Okay.
so.
So you could potentially have.
I mean, do you anticipate people coming off the street
I
and
don't.
having a,
No,
going to the
matter of
bar?
fact, we just, in a sense, discourage it by, we're gonna remove the signage. There won't be any big sign, there won't be any advertisement for entertainment or even for the watch.
So you brought up parking, where's everybody gonna park?
I guess the way, it's a tough one, right? So
And
whether,
you're close to the street too, so
Yeah.
you're gonna be backing up into that street?
can you, I mean, I'm gonna ask you that, can you back in and out of that? Have you tried to back in and out of there?
I've been there a couple of times since this has come up, to check out the place. I've been there a couple Saturday nights, which is why I can tell you we're not gonna have live music. But I've parked in the front and backed out. My understanding is that they have an agreement with the neighbor to park, and David has spoken to them, the syrup place, Rhode Island Syrup, and she's been very accommodating, so we don't anticipate any problem with parking.
And it is grandfathered in, it's been a bar, as far as I can remember. I did search the files, looking to see if, or I had Chris look at it too, if they ever came before the board for parking relief, it might predate certain things, so the only thing I can tell the board is it's grandfathered in for the way it is right now, and on a busy night, there's people all over the place. I think the testimony is this will be a much less intense use.
So,
Because it's grandfathered in, I didn't ask for parking relief.
so the syrup place could be sold, and then the new owners could say, no, I don't want you in my lot. You can't park on the street. I mean,
But
that's a tough, I know what you're saying.
Unless you get
But it's no
permission from
different
the
than
old
the
Benny's
situation
people
right
parking
now.
across the street.
It's no different than the situation right now. If they don't buy it, my guess is nobody's gonna give up that liquor license in a little bar. You're gonna, that's the value of that property. Somebody else is gonna buy it, and I think the testimony is it's gonna be a much less intense use than what it looks like on a Friday and Saturday night. I have pictures of what it looks like.
But you agree, Mr. Kane, that there's only 10 parking spaces
There's only
identified?
10 parking
Where do
spaces.
employees park?
You guys are-
Yeah, we basically are the employees, the guys that play.
How would you get there, by bike? You need a vehicle too, right? How many employees?
But the employees are members of the porch team, so they would be there anyway. So you don't need additional parking spots.
It's quite clear that we're limited in parking as the current establishment is limited in parking. It's worked through the years.
Do you have anything written between Rhode Island and Fruit Syrup? Will they?
It's an
like an-
informal
it's an
arrangement. They want insurance. I'd hate to have you conditioning on getting something in writing, and then if we can't, we have a problem, and I think you're back to what exists there.
So it's just a gentleman's agreement?
It's a gentleman's agreement. They're very friendly. What they want is they want to be listed on the insurance binder, which they are for the current establishment, and they will for this one.
I'm sorry.
They are listed, so with the current establishment, they list them on their
Oh, they
insurance
do?
binder. Yes, as an additional insured, and that's what they want from my clients. That's all they're asking for, is to be covered from an insurance perspective.
Because at night, there's nobody in that parking lot.
Yeah.
So there's plenty of parking
Yeah.
in that regard, but I do understand the limited parking place in and of itself.
Correct.
And Mr. Chair, the other
Yes.
aspect of this is, had this application not come before you because they're trying to do an addition, and the liquor license was just transferred and they were gonna stay the way it was,
No
this
issues.
board wouldn't even
No.
know about this application, and the license and applicant would go forward with their liquor license and running their club without the addition, and whatever parking was existing would continue to exist, it would come up as an issue separate. So although this board's looking at it, it's good, you should consider it, you have to factor in the overall element that, but for this addition to make the project a little different, this wouldn't be an issue that the town would have to address.
So you're also gonna remove part of a stone wall? What are you gonna do with those stones?
So, and those stone walls are not historic stone walls. David, do you want to address that, the stone walls? Or- You can come up, they probably were built 30 years ago.
Please raise your right hand. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
And state your name and address for the stenographer, please.
David Gianfrancesco, I reside at 105 Man School Road in Smithfield, Rhode Island.
So the
So can you?
the question is about the stone walls.
So there is a stone wall that runs from the left-hand corner of the back of the property, and it's actually shown on the
Right.
plot plan. That's a newer wall. That's definitely not historic, like, you know, the old Indian pack walls that are everywhere in Smithfield. There is a wall to the right of what I think might have been a old garage on the property. Shown as cinder
Yes.
block walls have kind of fallen in. And there's maybe a 20-foot stretch that it's literally almost connected. It looks like they put the cinder block right against it. But we're not really looking to remove or touch either one of, to do what we have to do.
It appears on the two drawings that the stone wall is going to be removed behind I call them bocce, but it's botch? Botch. Botch
He
courts.
didn't put it on the plan, I don't know why.
It's called a body. Yeah, I mean, the fact that it's not on, so this structure you see on the right-hand side is that old dilapidated garage. It does go to that part still, it's just not on the drawing. And we wouldn't be touching it.
Yeah, the garage, I don't think is a concern. It's just that the stone walls, if they're historic, they need to be
Understood.
handled differently, so,
Who would determine that?
okay. And
You're
you'll-
gonna work through the town, you gotta go through historic district, there's a process.
Yeah, I don't believe it to be anyway, that one in particular.
Great, thank you.
You're welcome. Is it mostly just guys, or is it women playing, or? Okay. I was gonna say, because you're right next to the villages and 55-plus community, so very ripe,
Haven't precluded.
very ripe target area for members, I mean.
Women are not precluded, and we're trying to develop a women's night. We really would like to see that.
Okay,
Kind of a target-rich environment up the street.
we addressed most of the technical issues?
Just to clarify, is the current proposed sale contingent upon this approval?
Yeah, yes.
Okay.
I was only asking just to clarify, there's no backup plan, or you're not gonna have a bunch of bands coming in all of a sudden if it's,
They don't, not the, I mean,
Ed, any further questions?
No, basically, it's a lesser use of what's
Yes.
there right now. I mean, I frequented that establishment when there were bands there, and it attracts more and more people. And I'm very familiar with the Borch associations that are around Rhode Island. And like Mr. Gianfrancesco said, there's very few that are indoor. And it's something that I think should be preserved because of the heritage to it. And it being a lesser intrusive use, rather than having a club with bands playing and younger people there. One of the evenings that I was there, you have a lot of people that are in their 22, 23, 25, where this being a lesser use, and it will attract, Mr. Gianfrancesco said, and he mentioned 70-year-old people. Would I take offense to that? But
Well, speaking of that, you're going to need to mark some handicap spots for parking in the front. No joke, I mean, but it made me think of that, yeah.
well, I'm sure Mr. McKnight will indicate the handicap parking,
Okay, all right.
especially people that have knee replacements. They may have to
Yeah, we do.
stay.
Okay. Frank, you okay? Any other questions?
no, I'm good, thank you.
John?
No, I mean, it looks great. My only concern is the parking backing up on that street. Yeah, they do. Obviously,
They've been
there's no
doing it for
street parking-
years.
No street parking there, so
We've had
It's
other
tough.
issues
Can't-
with
can't-
parking issues that they had a gentleman's agreement with other establishments. So
some flood issues over there
we
too.
have found,
that, I know, yeah, I don't know if this floods, but I know right down the street does.
That one doesn't get hit as much.
It comes down the hill sometimes.
Linda's good?
Yeah.
Rick?
No, I'm good. I've known this place well.
Okay?
Grew up down the street from it.
Thank you.
You good, Mr. Kane?
I am.
All right, thank you. All right, not hearing any further questions from the board. I'd like to open up the public hearing. Would anyone like to speak in favor of this application? Please come on up. State your name and address.
My name is Peter Buffoni. I live at 80 Clock Road, Smithfield, Rhode Island.
You swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, I do.
Okay, please.
I'm brother-in-law to David, was one of the trustees, married to his sister. I'm a new member the last 5 years, and I'm one of the individuals trying to steer this up, bring it to our town. There was a mention about a men's club. I have 2 daughters, and I'm very serious at trying to bring women into the club to share what we have. I have 2 very respectful daughters. One's a graduate of Providence College in accounting, and I have a daughter that's a physician at Mass General. So that's the caliber that we're looking to take in. Just wanted to make that comment.
Very good.
All right, thank
Well,
you.
thank you. As a father of 3 daughters, I agree with you. No, I have 3.
He's got 3.
I got 3.
I got 2.
I agree with you. Okay. Anyone else like to speak in favor of this application? Would anyone like to speak in opposition to this application? Okay. Not hearing any, I'll close the public hearing, and I'd entertain a motion to take this under advisement.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion, we take this under advisement.
Second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay. The next case.
24-006, Bryant University as applicant and owner of property located at 100 Salem Street, listed as Plat 49, Lot 226, seeks a special use permit under sections 4.3.d.3 and 4.4.d.3, public and semi-public uses, college, and 5.8 planned corporate district to operate as a college use in a planned corporate district.
Okay.
Good evening.
Connor?
My name is Christopher O'Connor. I'm an attorney at Blish & Kavanaugh, which with offices located in Providence. I'm here tonight on behalf of the applicant, Bryant University. We do have people here this evening to speak to the application for a special use permit. Just to give, before I actually turn it over to those individuals, just wanted to fill you in on where we've been and sort of where we're going, at least as of recent. We were last before this board in September of 2023 for a special use permit and variance, assortment of variances with respect to our master plan, a revised master plan that was approved by the planning board in August, just a prior month. So we appeared here in September 6th. Special use permit was granted, variances were granted. Move forward, we were before planning in December 21st, for an unrelated matter, as well as a recommendation, seeking a recommendation from the planning board, a positive recommendation for the use of 100 Salem Street property, which is the former Fidelity property. So we received a positive recommendation from the planning board on December 21st, and that brings us forward. It brings us to tonight, where we're seeking the special use permit, no variances. You'll hear Mr. Thomas Mann, who's prepared before this board a number of times, Joe Casale, who's appeared before the board a number of times as well, just in connection with Bryant University. They certainly can tell you and give you the details of what's being proposed. And so with that said, what I'm going to do is turn it over to Mr. Mann, and who will in turn turn it over to Joe in a PowerPoint presentation.
Good evening.
Good evening. Please raise your right hand. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Please state your name and address for the record, please.
My name is Thomas Mann. I have offices at Bryant University located at 1150 Douglas Pike, Smithfield.
Okay, Mr. Mann, please proceed.
All right. I think it's been well documented in the news that our neighbors across the street from Bryant, Fidelity, gifted a building to the university. And we were very gracious and excited by this new opportunity. And as we've testified before, it really changed our strategic plan that we've been working so hard on. And we had to make a lot of changes very, very quickly. We went through a considerable effort to redesign buildings, totally shift our entire strategy on outlining a vision plan to ensure the sustainability and viability of Bryant as a university. And it's going very, very well. We've had tremendous cooperation. We come before you tonight with really I think the last piece of this to get approval so the whole plan can come to fruition. And it's a small matter of getting a special use permit at 100 Salem to technically, operate as a university there. In other hearings that we've appeared at here at the town, there are kind of two main issues that have come to light or have been questioned about the whole transaction, and we're well prepared to discuss those two things. Number one is the use of the building and how that has changed from a building perspective and occupancy perspective. And we worked very closely with the Smithfield Fire on that, and we have written documentation showing that it's still a business occupancy. So it is a business occupancy now, and the Life Safety Code, NFPA 101, classifies university uses for instructional buildings, which is what this will be, as a business occupancy. We've verified that all of the staircases, egress, all of those things are appropriate and accurate, and the modifications that we will make to the building will be fully within the Life Safety Code. And so the building is a good fit for sustainable adaptive reuse and has really saved us a tremendous amount of resources to construct something of this size and scale by adaptively reusing it. So that was probably one of the biggest hurdles. The second major issue that has surfaced is the crossing of Route 7. And our primary way to transport students from the main campus to 100 Salem is going to be with the use of their POVs, their privately owned vehicles, for students who have that. And secondly, our second means of priority transit will be with a shuttle that Bryant University will provide and will operate during normal business hours when the majority of our classes occur. We also will have about 100 to 150 staff who will be operating in the building, who will all also have private vehicles or use the shuttle. Now, there's close proximity to the university, and we're well aware of that. And we do anticipate that people will want to walk because it's a quarter-mile walk to a half-a-mile walk, depending on where you're walking from on campus. So it is a reasonable possibility that people will walk. And there are three major issues that creates. Number one is there are no sidewalks. Number two is that it is a busy intersection with fast traffic. And number three, it's a wide intersection. So those are the three issues that were the biggest challenge. So Bryant hired a traffic engineer, PAR Corporation, and we have a representative, the traffic engineer, Mr. Keith McDonald, who's here with us tonight, who will testify on this, to do an alternatives analysis. But Bryant is not the only stakeholder. There are multiple parties involved in this matter of the safety of Route 7. It is the town of Smithfield. It is the Rhode Island Department of Transportation, because this is a state highway. It's also Fidelity, who is our neighbor and has an ownership stake in the land opposite Route 7. We did an alternatives analysis because our first thought is to go to a bridge or to consider a tunnel. And I learned a lot through this process of why some of these solutions created some significant challenges. But we also looked at a roundabout, which was at the suggestion of Rhode Island DOT. And then we also looked at other modifications with signalization and modifications to the right-of-way in a more traditional crosswalk setting. The reason I'm bringing this up is because we've spent a lot of time and we've had half a dozen meetings with DOT, and we have, as a team of all the stakeholders, selected what we feel is the best solution and perhaps the only feasible solution given the characteristics of the intersection. We ruled out a bridge because, quite frankly, the right-of-way, there's not enough right-of-way. And the land acquisition was very, very complex, even to transfer Fidelity to Bryant, because the state, Rhode Island Commerce, is also involved in this because the original development was part of a bond issuance. And so that transaction took a year. When we looked at the bridge opportunity, there was also a very considerable issue with that because there are 2 slip lanes on either side of the intersection. And the piers for a bridge would conflict with those and create very dangerous sight lines. We also know that going upstairs is not the fastest way to get anywhere, and we felt that many of our students would bypass that and then continue to go across, and then the piers would create sight lines. So DOT actually advised us that they did not think that was a safe thing. So the next logical solution was a tunnel. And many people have said, Bryant, why aren't you building a tunnel? Build a tunnel. The tunnel's the solution. But the right-of-way creates the same issues with the 2 slip lanes, the amount of right-of-way, another land acquisition of that property would be required. But then there's also wetlands. Then there's also the matter of the drainage patterns in the low-lying area and the matter of ledge and the notoriously high water table at Bryant, which we've really had to overcome a lot of issues with that. There's also a safety issue with a tunnel and students at night feeling safe in a tunnel. And both the tunnel and the bridge also had an accessibility issue with it would require 2 elevators, which is just not feasible. So there were a lot of reasons why a tunnel and a bridge did not make sense. We were very intrigued with the roundabout. Our other stakeholders did not like some of those, and particularly because of the number of tractor trailers and things that go through there. It would be very difficult with the traffic volumes, a double ring, and then many people not being familiar with how to negotiate traffic circles in this part of the country. And so the most feasible and economical and safe solution that could deal with speed, the distance, and sidewalks is to build sidewalks on either side, which we're prepared to do at our expense, widen the right-of-way, but rather than acquire more land, Bryant is willing to give up part of our land and convey that to DOT, add an area of refuge, so we have a raised median, which will essentially have the same effect as narrowing the intersection. So if someone gets stranded before they can get all the way across, they would have an area of refuge to be protected. And then other traffic calming measures which would address the speeds in there with the extended raised median, with the reconfiguration of the traffic signal, and also a potential warning system, as well as better lighting and landscaping that will all work together to slow traffic. So those 3 things have been addressed with the adding the sidewalks, adding the center area of refuge to make it safer, and then with the design incorporating traffic calming measures to slow the traffic. We have had numerous meetings with DOT. We are prepared to move to the next step, and it's important to us to get this built. And I think we're well on our way on that. So we will show you all of these improvements, and our traffic engineer, you can certainly ask questions on that. But I just wanted to start off with why we didn't do a bridge and a tunnel. So hopefully we can kind of focus on what we think is the most feasible solution. So thank you for indulging me in that long explanation.
No, that's very helpful. Thank you.
And so before you sit down, I just had a couple of follow-up questions. You mentioned stakeholders, and you mentioned meeting with DOT, but isn't it true that as part of that process, the town, you met with town reps?
Yes, I was remiss in mentioning that the town was part of those stakeholder meetings.
So who from the town has been involved in some of those meetings?
We've involved the police, fire, the town manager, and I believe Mike Phillips was in some of those meetings. I'd have to go back to the minutes. We've had several meetings.
Like Phillips.
Correct.
And those meetings have occurred a bit more than one meeting, correct?
Yes.
And the plan that has been settled on, and which will be featured in the PowerPoint, has been shown, is a product really of those meetings involving stakeholders, correct?
Yes,
And they've seen it as well, correct?
that is correct.
And just one miscellaneous question. There is currently a crosswalk that extends across Route 7 between the Fidelity, what was the Fidelity property, actually still is Fidelity property, and Bryant property, correct?
Correct.
So as we are here today, anyone, whether it's someone coming from Fidelity, any member of the public, or any student can cross Douglas Pike, correct?
That is correct, and one distinction I will make is that there is a code-compliant, ADA-accessible signalized crossing now. The problem is there are no sidewalks to connect to. The intersection is wide, and there are no other traffic calming measures. So in our proposal, you will see that we are still going to have that, but we're proposing to move that to the south. And there is a reason we're doing that, because it's a more economical and functional way to connect the two campuses with sidewalks. I should note on the Fidelity side, there are some existing paths and existing paved surfaces, which are more easily accessible from the southern side of the intersection. And when you see the design, I just want to point out that's a major reason why we're proposing to move that. Now we're reducing the number of busy intersections that any student will have to cross to get to 100 Salem, so. Correct, yeah. Safety is our biggest priority with this.
Safety.
Yes.
So with that said, what we'd like to do is, we have Mr. Casali here. There is a PowerPoint. We also have Keith McDonald, who is a professional engineer from FAR, who can address at the appropriate time in the PowerPoint some of these things that Mr. Mann has told.
Can I ask one quick question? So all those stakeholders that you have met with, do they endorse this plan?
I would say yes. The nature of the process started with a full report that was written with all of the alternatives outlined. I would say our the Fidelity stakeholder overtly expressed a preference for the solution that we have done. On our last call with DOT, I asked that question. I expect these issues to come up, and do you endorse this particular solution? DOT's response was that we're not going to endorse one or the other. What we're going to suggest is what the pros and cons of each solution are, and then our goal is to review each component of the design and then respond to that in terms of meeting all of the state requirements. So I think with where we are, from my perspective and how I would perceive all of those meetings, is that yes, it's an endorsement, but it certainly has coalesced into the preferred alternative. So yes.
So, Mr. Mann, put another way, no one has offered any serious objection to the plan as you're going forward.
That is correct.
Good evening. Now, if, Mr. Casali, if you and Mr. McDonald just would come up at the same time, just saying, I'll swear you in once and then we can proceed. You swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? And just state your name and address for the record, please.
Yeah, for the record, Joe Casali, registered professional engineer, offices at 300 Post Road in Warwick.
Keith McDonald, registered professional engineer with Park Corporation, 8 Blackstone Valley Place, Lincoln.
Okay, thank you.
So, good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. If I may, PowerPoint, just go through quickly the program, and then we'll bring Keith back up so he can get into a little bit of detail at some of those crossings. So again, you've all seen this map many times, the existing campus, but this site, as we're talking about, as you all know, is 100 Salem Street, which is Building 100, or was the former Building 100 for Fidelity on the east side of Douglas Pike. So looking at the building, it's quite large. It's almost 250,000 square feet in gross square footage.
Sally, I'm sorry, one quick question, just as a note. The 100 Salem Street is actually the address, or is that only a designation that Fidelity used?
I believe 100 Salem Street is the address for Building 100. There's multiple buildings within the
Yes.
park that have, yeah.
So 100 is an address, it's more than just a label on the building that Fidelity used?
Correct.
It's identified, for instance, in Vision Appraisal, you can go in and put 100 Salem Street in and come up with this.
Okay,
This is-
all right.
And Fidelity always called it the 100, 300, and I think the 900 building.
Right.
Yeah. Looking at it, though, it's, again, just shy of 250,000 square feet in terms of office space, existing parking lot, about 1,155 spaces, and then there is a surface parking, about another 100 spaces. As you all know, we're in the planned corporate zoning district. As we were before you, the initial use, which is administrative and office, is allowed by right. But we're here tonight, Mr. Chairman, for a special use permit request because we'd like to have future academic use inside the building. And let me explain. Ground floor, you see a variety of programs from communication to different classrooms. There's an entrepreneurship program and different student clubs and organizations. You see on the first floor, again, another differences in programs of professional labs, marketing, behavioral, that Wilson Center program that we have. Up on the second floor, different types of AI labs, data science, the dean, financial markets, and a portion of the graduates in the Chafee Center. And then finally, on the third floor, more of administrative offices, boardrooms, and board offices. And so that is a.
Looks like about a third of that third floor was going to be vacant?
That is, that third floor, the way it is below, I believe that that's open to below, which is why that is programmed that way. So utilizing every square inch of the building, it's just not a full footplate of that third floor. And this will be a good transition between Keith and I. I think that is, well, I know that is the existing sidewalk that Mr. Mann just talked about, that there is pedestrian crossing available today, but under proposed conditions.
So let's turn it over for a moment to Mr. McDonald, who, you are a professional engineer, correct?
Correct.
And you're employed by,
Park Corporation,
and do you have a title?
Vice President, Transportation Group.
And if you had to, in a high-level overview of what it is you do, what is it that you do?
I manage roadway design projects, mostly with Rhode Island DOT, bicycle and pedestrian projects. This is the type of project I work on all the time.
Okay. And in fact, you heard Mr. Mann testify regarding stakeholders, right?
Correct.
And you participated in that process, correct?
Correct.
And you, in fact, made a presentation, some of which has been incorporated here to this. You have made that presentation to the stakeholders, including you.
Yes, correct.
All right, so sorry to interrupt.
Yep, no problem. Okay, so thank you. So this is the, proposed, this is the existing survey of the intersection. This is a slide that came out of a presentation that we made to the stakeholders group a few weeks back. So we do have a full survey. We've flagged the wetlands. We've got utility locations. We've identified the road layout for Route 7. We've completed traffic counts, completed the alternatives analysis of multiple different, crossing locations and options. We had a stakeholder group meeting March 8th with members of Bryant, Fidelity, Town of Smithfield, RIDOT, and PAR. Just last Monday, March 25th, we had a application meeting for the physical alteration permit application that's going to be needed. This is a DOT roadway, so that's going to be the process by which they grant their approval. We had a meeting, again, with Bryant and with members of RIDOT from their traffic, their real estate section, maintenance, landscaping, stormwater, project management. We, basically received general agreement and support for the proposed improvements. We were able to sort of walk through and present this plan, get some initial feedback from them, some things that they would like us to look into, some of their comments, it was good. So where we're at right now in our design phase is we're looking to make this physical alteration permit submission in the next 2 to 3 weeks. So general overview of the improvements. So you'll see we are maintaining the existing lane configurations approaching the intersection while introducing landscape medians. We're holding the easterly edge of the pavement along Fidelity and widening towards Bryant. So by adding in the landscape median, we need to widen the roadway a little bit. I don't know if you can quite see that red line on there on either side of the roadway. Yes, correct. So that's actually the layout of Route 7. So you can see how close the red line is on the south side of the intersection, Fidelity side of the roadway being the top part of the graphic. So we don't have any availability to widen the roadway on that side, so we're widening to the west towards Fidelity, but keeping all the improvements within the right-of-way, the state's right-of-way. And you can see we're shifting the crosswalk from the north side of the intersection to the south side so that it aligns with the future sidewalk path network that Thomas had mentioned. So it's a blow up of the intersection. So the existing pedestrian phase, the existing crosswalk runs concurrently with Salem Street. So when the traffic light lets traffic exit the Fidelity campus, that's when you can cross on the existing crosswalk. Because we're moving the crosswalk to the south side of the intersection, the crosswalk, the pedestrian phase is now going to run with the Jacob Drive. So when you're exiting Bryant, that's when the pedestrian phase will run. You can see there's a little bit of a safety improvement here because you can see exiting Bryant, there's the slip lane that lets you make a right-hand turn onto Route 7 South. When a pedestrian crosses that leg and then gets to the point where they're crossing Route 7, any exiting traffic from Bryant will only be going straight across towards Fidelity or making a left-hand turn heading north on Route 7. So there's no pedestrian conflict with that movement where we don't have that under existing conditions. So this is a safety improvement. We are maintaining the dedicated right turn lane into Fidelity. So heading north on Route 7, there's an existing, can I go back? So you can see the right turn movement into Fidelity is uncontrolled, correct? Uncontrolled at the intersection. So in theory, you only need to slow down enough to be able, perfect, here we go, sorry. So you only need to slow down enough to navigate that right turn movement. What we're proposing is to, here we go, bring this right turn lane to a stop at the intersection. So when that pedestrian phase when pedestrians are crossing with the Jacob Drive exiting from Bryant, the traffic entering Fidelity will have to come to a stop, whereas they didn't before. So again, another safety improvement. The center medians, we have lighting and landscaping right here. So this is a tree symbol. There's a little sort of like a light blue right here and here. So it's kind of like, tree, 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 and then light, 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 light. So looking to, create some visual cues with the landscaping, illuminate the intersection, allow for a better visibility of any pedestrians that may be crossing. Again, we did, go through this with DOT. Obviously, they have a maintenance concern, but Brian has agreed to the maintenance for everything, for the landscaping, for the lighting. Brian is going to be, signing a C&M agreement, construction maintenance agreement with RIDOT, so they'll be maintaining this.
Excellent. So we're having more lighting around the four corners there, right in that area up?
Yeah, so there's lighting here at the crosswalk, coming up here, and then there's lighting here next to the ramp over here, and then in the middle here. So sort of right now, you're driving up Route 7, and it's just really wide asphalt, and if you're not paying attention, you're driving really fast. Now you'll see trees and you'll see lighting. It'll be lit up. It'll be more of a visual cue.
Shrubs, though, right? Not like blocking, not trees blocking somebody's view from the left-hand side when they come.
They're going to be trees. They're proposed to be trees. We have to work with the RIDOT landscape unit, but they have these type of landscape center medians throughout the state, and they have recommendations for certain kind of trees that don't grow too wide, don't grow too tall, don't have, leaves that block catch basin grates and things like that. So we'll work closely with them, but they will be trees, but they will be set back from the intersection so they won't obstruct, visibility.
Where will the walkers cross Salem Street?
So right now, in terms of what we're presenting to RIDOT, the crosswalk comes up here. There's a pedestrian curb ramp, and then there are future plans for a sidewalk or a trail, that comes up along Salem Street. And I know there's a utility easement. I think that's been talked about as being, potentially the route for that trail. So those details, I think, are still being worked out. Yeah, further up where they cross Salem Street to get to the building. Yeah, correct. The existing traffic signal, you can see the sort of dashed lines here. So that's the existing span poles and wires and heads. So that's all going to remain in place. We don't need to replace any of that, just adjusting the signal heads to line up with the new travel lane configurations. So this is the sort of northern, blow up of the northern section. Again, it's matching the existing pavement within the, we did flag the wetlands, and you can see there's a wetland line that comes through here. So all of our proposed widening work or disturbance is going to be outside of the DEM jurisdiction, but we do still have to go before DEM for a freshwater wetlands permit.
So excuse me, this proposal with these medians, does that automatically does that cause the speed limit in that area to be adjusted now because we're making these changes? So I would assume the speed limits would be reduced now, seeing that there's much more, foot traffic going back and forth. I have two kids that went to Bryant, and one recently graduated, so I'm very familiar with this area, and I'm very familiar with the speed in that area, and visiting them, because they lived on campus mornings, nights, flashing lights at night perhaps. I am very familiar with it. Cars coming in both directions at night. It's extremely, a lot of times pretty dangerous. And my concern, having the two children now out there, future children, students now, will be crossing that road at night. They're going to be flashing lights from both directions, cars being able to slow down as they start to see, because on the other side, when you come out of Bryant on the left, if you're coming from that side, I don't know if it's north or south, it's like a blind spot. You can't, when you're coming over, if you're going fast, going up to that light, it's pretty dangerous.
So this design is designed to slow traffic.
Correct.
Approaching.
Would the speed limit be reduced in that area? Would there be?
And how does that work, speed?
So the speed limit right now is 40 miles an hour. In order to reduce or revise the posted speed limit, that would have to go through the State Traffic Commission. So that would have to be a request of Rhode Island DOT to complete an analysis to formally, reduce the posted speed.
I'm aware of that. I mean,
Yeah.
there are plenty of universities that have buildings not, outside of the main campus.
Yep.
And they manage that. My question is just, how do you manage that?
Yeah.
Is that a proposal? Who makes that proposal to DOT? Can Bryant make that proposal to DOT? Or who does that to kind of give them that opportunity to perhaps reduce that speed limit? Which
Yeah.
I would think would be necessary, building this, these two medians now, and just the overall change to it. Doesn't seem reasonable to keep it at the speed limit, the existing speed limit it's at right now, when they know there's gonna be more foot traffic. I mean, Rhode Island DOT in general, that would just be a reasonable recommendation, I would think. But I don't know is that something that somebody can propose, either Brian or who brings that proposal, or how does that happen?
It could be.
The other thing is the special use permit, the building itself on Salem Street, is that going to be, are there classes that are gonna be going on there, proposed classes in the evening? So you're gonna have kids go back and forth in the evening, so it's just gonna be, I know the proposal is they have classes there. Will there be evening classes going on? Will there be any, just administrative offices? I don't, so how does that, how do you adjust for all of that?
So a few questions. As far as the speed is concerned, I think that there's no issue, as far as Brian's concerned, there's no issue with Brian making a request
Right.
of DOT
Okay.
for a speed adjustment. So I don't think that's an issue. But Brian can do that. I think Brian can do that. Whether DOT does it
Right.
is entirely debate. And so we can do that. And we will do it. We can agree.
I think as long as the lighting is bright enough, lights the area up, that gets people's attention a little bit more.
So that is something that we talked with DOT about last week. We talked extensively about the concerns with approach speeds on Route 7. So they did ask us to incorporate some advanced flashing signs, maybe that, when the light is red for the approaching vehicles, there's something, 300 feet back or so that flashes, red light ahead.
Because it's dark there,
Yeah.
and I have come out, it's dark. I've been there for many years, so I'm very well aware of this, and I'm not, trying to make it difficult. I'm not trying to be difficult. I'm just trying to, bring up like obvious questions as to change. And I think it's a great thing. I mean, it's wonderful. Brian's been wonderful with my kids, so I don't, I want that to happen. It's just, it's more or less, trying to adjust for the concern of more kids and that pedestrian, that pedestrian crossing.
It sounds like they're gonna address it with some lights that flash you down.
Lighting, flashing signs.
So after the kids cross Salem Street, is there gonna be sidewalks all the way up, lit all the way up to get them into the building?
Yes. And I think one other question we had, which was the use and the
Yes.
light and that sort of thing. Do you think, Thomas, you could just speak to generally, it's hard to predict in the future, but how the use is going to work? The building is going to be used principally for what? What do you think generally the hours are going to be? How does it work?
The predominant hours of the university currently are 8:30 to 4:30 during the school session, and in the summer, it's reduced to 8:30 to 4 p.m. and on Fridays, occasionally when the president allows it in the summer, or early dismissal or partial remote work days. We anticipate that same schedule for all of the staff, which is very similar to Fidelity's current traffic flow and patterns with their normal operating hours. I think the distinction from how our future use will be from the current use is that the academic instruction piece is more dynamic. So I would think that there'll be students who take the shuttle throughout the day for class and have to go back to the main campus. But overall, I would say the core hours will be 8:30 to 4:30, probably 5:30, 6 for people who stay late. I do anticipate that there could be some evening courses with graduate programs, but significantly reduced volumes. And we will have some student leadership activities, so students will have access in evening hours. I do expect that there would be intermittent programs, but far, far less utilization in the evening and night hours. But yes, they'll have card access and there will be people at night.
How many shuttles will you have?
I'm not familiar with the shuttle schedule yet. We're still developing that, and it's going to be a function of the number of classes that happen concurrently. But certainly one shuttle with enough capacity that will be coordinated with the transit needs of the number of people who will expect to want to use the shuttle. So I don't have too many specifics on that yet, but I've been assured by our senior leadership that they are making arrangements for the shuttle, and that we're going to actually encourage students not to walk, just to, to reduce the risk of an accident.
Keith, have sidewalks, is it designed and created for the sidewalks between 100 Salem and Route 7 and Route 7 and the rest of the campus on the Jacobs Street side?
I don't believe,
At this stage, because we haven't gotten the approval for the special use permit yet, those designs are conceptual, so we're not showing them. But the plan will be to connect existing sidewalks down Jacobs Drive, off of the road, and we would follow the best pedestrian urban planning concepts to have the roadway, a landscape buffer, and then a sidewalk. It will cross the intersection as shown here, and Fidelity has asked us to utilize some existing pathways that are set back from the boulevard connecting it, and it avoids having to cross Salem Street because it's a double wide highway. That's why. That's largely why one of the main reasons we oriented this on the south side. So there are existing pathways up to the 100 Salem. Half of it is already paved. The lower half, that's an improvement we will have to make. And we're still in the process of coordinating that with Fidelity. But it was their suggestion and request that we organize the sidewalk that way through that specific pathway. So we have surveyed that. Those are going to be incorporated into this once we have confirmed that this crossing is approved through our physical alteration permit with DOT. Then we can finalize the designs and connect the sidewalks.
But there isn't any, I mean, you've surveyed it to know there isn't any impediment, there isn't a significant stream or wetlands or something that you have difficulty crossing between 100 Salem and here?
No, not on the path that we're proposing.
Okay, good.
On that same note, just a clarification question. I apologize if I'm reading this wrong, but on the architectural plan here, it's got the proposed sidewalk extension on the north side of Jacob Drive, but the crosswalk is on the south side, so then they'd have to cross Jacob Drive at some point, unless, is this not accurate?
I think that's an outdated plan.
Okay, all right.
Our initial concepts had the sidewalk because that's where the
Yeah, because
existing
it's
crossing is.
south on here, but on this, it's on north, so I just wanted to.
Yes, that must be an old diagram.
So this is,
Yes, the most up-to-date plan is on the Bryant campus, down Jacobs Drive on the south side. The crossing shown is here, and then the path will connect north on the south side of Salem Street to 100 Salem.
And during the winter, these pathways will be maintained?
I'm sorry?
During winter time, if we do get snow? again,
Yes, we absolutely have
These will
to.
be clean so that
Yep.
we're not, causing anybody to walk into the street?
Bryant will have maintenance responsibility for all of the sidewalks connecting the two buildings, as well as some maintenance requirements associated with the landscape design here. All of those agreements are still being worked out, but we have an understanding that we're committing to those agreements because it's in our best interest to make sure that those are maintained as we would maintain them on our campus.
Mr. Mann, while you're there, there were a couple other questions that the technical review committee came up with. The parking garage is just going to be labeled Bryant Parking, and it's going to be open to whoever is visiting that building?
That is correct. I would consider it, and I'm not as well versed in the International Building Code in terms of public, private, open, closed. I have not studied the original construction drawings, but my understanding from what I've seen is that the existing parking deck will remain as is. It will be used solely by Bryant for the occupants of our building. So I would consider that a private parking garage, which will be left open, so all of our guests and visitors will be able to freely go in and out of it. I believe it is an open design, meaning that there are no mechanical systems. It's unsprinkled. It does have a standpipe. And my understanding is that it is in compliance with Chapter 406 of the Building Code 2018 version. I drove through it today just to make sure and observed all the characteristics that I had just read in that document to be able to speak to that today.
Okay, thank you.
So I think, all right, so I think that concludes our presentation. What we will do before we leave, because we've referred to this PowerPoint we've presented, we have a copy of hard copy. We'd like to have those things.
We'll make that an exhibit. Thank you.
Unless the board has any more questions, or the public does. That's it, folks.
Board members, are you okay? I'm good. You good now, Frank? Good, thank you. Okay. All right. Since board members have no more questions, I'd like to open up the public meeting. Would anyone like to speak in favor of this application? Would anyone like to speak in opposition to this application? Not hearing any. I'd entertain a motion for the board to take this under advisement.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion, we take this under advisement.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. One quick question. Other than the special use permit, are there any other variances that we're looking for?
No variance.
I didn't think so. Okay. Just wanted to be sure of that. Thank you. Okay.
May I hand up the PowerPoint?
Yes. What's that?
May I hand up the PowerPoint?
Yeah, please do. Yeah, yeah. So this will be, do you know how many pages it is?
It's I don't have a.
17. So exhibit 1. Okay, 17 pages. Okay. All right. Board members, if you're so inclined, I'd entertain a motion to close the zoning board of review and go into deliberations.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we go into deliberations.
Second.
Motion made, seconded. Any questions, clarifications? If not, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay. Great, well done, everyone. Good questions. Let's go back through the cases. Case 24-2003. This is the Lawrence's addition to their home. They need a 6-foot variance because the addition is too close to the garage. I'll entertain a motion.
Chairman, I'll make a motion that we approve as applied with a notation on somehow fireproofing, maybe the inside wall of that garage that is closest to the house. I think that was an issue that you had.
Addressing fireproofing between the two structures.
Right.
Yes.
What for that, we say that, okay? All right. Motion's been made.
I'll second it.
Second. Any further discussion or questions? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. And you've got the. Okay, okay. All right. Next case is 24-004. This is the Child Care Center, Child University property.
Chair, I'll make a motion that we approve the application as applied, with the proposed fence around the retention pond, as Frank had suggested.
And I think we have
DEM approval.
DM approval and additional parking on the, what would that be? The
North side,
north side of the building?
north or west, yeah.
North or east side?
East
North
side.
or- Yeah, east side of the building. Okay,
Is there a parking that you're seeking?
What was that?
maximize the parking. How about if we say maximize
Maximize parking.
on the
on
east
site.
side? Yeah, on site. Okay, motion's been made. Did we
I think
second?
there was one additional thing, Mr. Chair, which was the fire marshal approval on that rear exit going out.
Oh, yeah, the fire marshal building,
Yeah, egress approval, yeah.
egress, yeah, there's a number of agencies they have to go through, yeah.
That gets reviewed with the Department of Health.
Correct, yeah.
Okay,
All right,
You
motion
don't
been,
have to make that a condition though, the approval,
Okay.
because they can't put children in there without the Department of Health.
all right.
didn't think so.
So motion's been made. Somebody second?
I'll second it.
Okay. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, passes unanimously. All right, where are we now? Okay, this.
Watching card.
And now we go to the 24, case 24-005,
What do you say?
the,
Watching? Watch.
the La Madonna Dei Suppressi Real Estate Trust and the Botch Courts.
Porch. Porch.
Botch.
There's no R though.
I'm sorry, I'm trying to be as Italian as I can be.
You want to put a vowel in?
Jim, it's not working.
There's no R in it.
You're supposed to.
Hey, I'm from Ohio, what do I know? Okay. Okay, so there are several variances that they need. So I guess we can make a motion based on the revised submission. Which are 90-foot variance from the
90-foot
residential
variance.
property, 33 rear, 44 front yard setback, 30 side yard setback, and a 16% lot coverage variance.
16%.
16%, yeah.
And to allow as a restaurant.
Yeah, and to operate as a restaurant.
It was sort of already doing that. You could get food there before. That's why they had a kitchen.
That was existing.
That was the reason why they took the place.
Right, that's the existing situation with liquor, so.
It was a bar and a restaurant.
Look, I'm just going by what the lawyer says.
Now
Don't
I
argue with
know.
me.
That was part of the amendment.
Right,
Oh, excuse me.
we voted.
Yeah.
In the application.
All right,
Okay.
so I'm waiting for a motion.
I make a motion that we pass this with all the recommendations that were just stated.
Okay, the conditions that were on the revised application, okay? Motion's been made.
So what's the motion is to approve as amended?
Approve as amended by this application, yes.
I'll second that.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded. Any further discussion?
No.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay. You're welcome. Good luck. It's a lot of, botch is a lot of fun. Okay. Be careful, I might do that. All right. And the last application is 24-006, Bryant University.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion, we approve as applied.
Second.
John did. John made the motion, seconded by Ed.
There'll be comments about adding further. They were talking about the light, the flashing light.
Yeah, they said they're going to get approval, they're going to ask DOT for approval. All right, motion's been made and seconded. Any further discussion?
Nope.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay,
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion, we adjourn.
Second.
all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay. Hey, well,
I think Bryant College knew what our main concern was going to be.
yeah, well done, everybody. That was a good meeting. We covered a lot of ground, and I think we did some good work. Well done.
I guess that pocket structure